Hello YouTube. So after the post-time skip tournament arc, you don't want to lose to those mid-level players that do the same things over and over. You want to get a good read on these top-level players. How do we go about that? Well, you have to learn how to think. Am I looking here? How to think in sequences. Now, this isn't like a term I coined myself. I first heard it from Vermanubis, another Smash YouTuber. I'll link it in the description. And it's a pretty standard way of thinking ahead in fighting games or video games in general. We're talking about fighting games mostly, but I like the way he worded it. I'm going to try to show some examples and explain it myself. I'm going to start with Street Fighter. Even if you do not play Street Fighter, I'll make this very easy to follow. I'm playing Menat here. I just started playing Street Fighter very recently. Again, I played a bit in Season 1. And I wanted to learn Menat. He's fucking cute, right? Anyway, I suck. I suck a lot. One thing you'll notice right now is that I'm bad at anti-airing. So you see Gil, he will jump at me over and over and over. And that's not good. Menat's a character that wants to keep people out. So if you're just letting people jump in at you, another one, you're gonna have a bad time. It's not a good way to keep people out. Another one, I'm gonna take my whole life bar because I didn't anti-air that one. I only take half because he dropped his combo. But you get the point that I'm trying to get here, right? So I'm going to... When I'm playing these games, I'm learning, I'm like... Step one, kind of the very basic, anyone will tell you, you need to anti-air better. That's like telling people you need to ledge trap better, whatever. Like, it's a very fundamental thing, and hopefully I'll start doing that. No, I won't, because I'm still ass. But I'll start now. Right? I clipped it, obviously. Yeah, okay, so I finally get my first anti-air. And this is what happens. Anti-air doesn't do a hard knockdown or anything. It's not I can't true combo out of it. But what happens is that Gil will land here. This will happen every time I anti-air him. He'll land here and I can make him block the orb on his way down, but then that's it. I don't get a true combo. So it's kind of resets here. Gotta censor this. Going on, Capcom. So, yeah. So, instead of thinking in this basic level of I need to anti-air, I actually have to think of this anti-air as a sequence. So every time I anti-air Gil, this situation will happen. And even though it's not a true combo scenario, not a 50-50 guess scenario, it is something that it's like a very set play. It'll always look like this when I anti-air. So I need to think of this entire thing as a sequence. If he blocks, I need to know how do I pressure him. If he jumps, I need to realize he's jumping again. If he backdashes, how can I catch the backdash? Maybe by recalling the orb. So without even thinking about this, I just kind of went in. I thought he was going to block. I went for the overhead. He jumped again. So this overhead was a bad idea because I didn't think of it as a full sequence. I just said, oh, I anti-aired him. Now it's my turn. I get the pressure. Not the case. He jumped again. I need to remember that. But here comes a similar situation. At least I'm anti-airing now, which is good. Similar situation. And if you remember last time in this sequence of get anti-aired to land by Gil, last time he chose to jump. If I remembered that and I was a smart player, I wouldn't be in the corner for no reason. And like, it's not a huge deal. Like, we're still kind of in neutral, but I gave up a situation that should have been advantageous to me because I wasn't thinking ahead. I was thinking at a very base level, I need to anti-air. Obviously, we're going to get to the point where I start realizing the sequence much better. All right, same sequence. What's he gonna do? Jumps again. And as you can see, I anti-air him again. And honestly, maybe I should have went for it a third time because this is technically just repeating the sequence. But this time I figured, you know, he just got anti-aired twice. Maybe he'll actually block. And he does. I get a crush counter. And look at the difference. So the last time this happened, let's go back here for like 1 sec. So remember this. Look at the difference. He jumps in on me, gets a full combo because I didn't think of it as a sequence. Now it's his turn. Compare that to this, where because I'm thinking ahead, I'm not thinking of the anti-air anymore. I'm thinking of what happens after the anti-air because it's a very set play. I got the full screen. I got a crush counter, and I have him at full screen, and I'm a character that keeps you out, so I get to deal with all this. Beautiful. Way, way better. It's such a minute, different, like, thought process. I'm not thinking about the anti-air anymore. I know I can anti-air. I'm thinking about the sequence that follows it. Now, this happens one more time. You know, this is game 3. Last stock, last hit. Anti-air him. He jumps again. Oh, I remembered the sequence. I get the first anti-air. What does he like to do? He likes to jump again. Anti-air him with super. Big lead. Now, obviously, this is someone I was playing full sets with. I played a lot of games. But if I was just better at Street Fighter and more experienced, I should have been able to think of this sequence much quicker and how to deal with his approach at the sequence. Hope that made sense a little bit. Now I'm going to use this discount chalkboard here. We're going to talk about Pichu. So here's an example of Pichu. Let's say you're here and you're in your shield. That's you. And that's your main character, whoever it might be. And Pichu's out here. Like that. And he just jolted. So what does this mean? If you ever see this situation, you've probably seen it against Pichu, probably seen it against Pikachu. This jolt, you need to stop thinking of it as an individual jolt. You need to think of it as the start of Pikachu's sequence, or Pichu. What does that mean? It means that the jolt itself barely matters. All that the Pikachu cares about is that it's going to hit your shield, and now you're forced to do something. You're either going to hold shield, you're going to jump out of shield, you're going to roll back, you're going to roll forward, whatever. All the Pichu cares about is being here as that jolt hits you, so they can see how you react to the sequence. You as a player have to realize this jolt itself isn't a big deal. I must mix up how I react to the sequence as well. You can't, a lot of people will just hold shield and they'll get grabbed and you're like, man, Pichu's approach with jolt is way too good. I mean, it's pretty good, but you have to think of it. Don't think of the jolt as a jolt. Think of the jolt as a condition that you have to, it's trying to condition you. Don't let it condition you. Remember that they're going to do something next. You have to mix up how you look at this sequence. Hope you're kind of getting what I'm you're picking up what I'm putting down here. You guys remember this? This is on BP Smash Dudes. You guys remember this? F tilt, you jump. If they don't air dodge, you hit them. If they do air dodge, you like vanish or you wait. Right? This was Sheik's 50-50 in Smash 4. This is kind of a like combos are kind of sequences. When you do a combo, you're not thinking of the move you're hitting them with. You're already thinking of the next move because it's obvious, it's guaranteed. A 50-50 isn't guaranteed, but you're still kind of thinking of, what should I go for? Should I bait the air dodge or should I just go up right away? Now, you have to start thinking in this manner for things that aren't guaranteed and for things that aren't 50-50. Just because the opponent has multiple options doesn't mean that you can't condition them to always pick one or realize that they're always picking one. This is what at the beginning I said, stop losing to mid-level players. A lot of mid-level players will pick the same options in sequences because they don't realize it's a sequence. They're just thinking of it move by move. Here's an example with Larry's Mewtwo. He down throws him. Mewtwo doesn't get true combos. You can maybe wait for an air dodge, whatever. This guy air dodges and lands to the ground. What does Larry do instead? Next time he gets the grab, he chills, he waits. This is the exact same sequence. Yes, he can jump out. Yes, he can maybe fair. Yes, he can air dodge. Maybe he can do nothing and drift back a bit. There's more than one or two options, but Larry realizes that this is the sequence. It just happened 2 seconds ago. He waits. Again, he waits. Second place, waits. This time he jumps out, but he's waiting. Like, he's not overcommitting because he knows the sequence is an advantageous one. This guy, now he's starting to mix it up. This Incineroar is a pretty smart guy. Very quickly, he started mixing up that sequence. He wasn't that quick because he fell for the same thing 3 times. But you get my point there, right? Let's go to one more thing. We're going to let Larry talk here. So, that was a more obvious offensive one because you got the grab. Now let's think of it as a pressure tool. Let's see what Larry says about like, Mewtwo's...
You're not just going to be able to Shadow Ball and then run up into people, but that's also just added pressure that you give the opponent. You're forcing them to jump. You're forcing them to jump. You're forcing them to shield. You're forcing them to just move away from the Shadow Ball and are like challenged in some way. And if they do that, Mewtwo can like position himself accordingly and punish them for it, or be in a better position for that.
So essentially what it's saying here is that if you're a good Mewtwo and you're good at thinking of your Shadow Ball as a start of a sequence, you can cover everything the Shadow Ball gives you. He said that you use it as pressure and you follow it, and you force them to either shield it, to jump over it, to roll. And this is exactly what we're talking about with Pichu. Just using Mewtwo Shadow Ball as the start of a sequence, instead of thinking of it as a projectile. How many players that use projectile characters, they think of their projectile as just, this is the thing I can hit out for free damage. If it hits, maybe I can combo. That's a very, very low level way of thinking about the move. You have to think of it as the start of a sequence. As soon as the Shadow Ball is shielded, what does Daisy do? And as the Mewtwo player, you should already know the answer to everything Daisy's allowed to do. Even though there's maybe 5 or 6 options, most mid-level players will just keep picking 1 or 2, and even high-level players might have one that they like default to until you show them that you can beat it. So let's say Mewtwo chases the Shadow Ball, Daisy shields it and then jumps out of shield. As the Mewtwo player, you should wait here, the Shadow Ball hits your shield, jump fair. You already have the answer to the sequence. I kind of talked about this in one of my own videos. Even show up, man. The algorithm. Chicken. I don't want to listen to myself. So, just by pressing neutral B as Sheik, you start a sequence. Why? Because this person has to deal with the needle. They cannot just run because they'll get needled. Sometimes they'll want to jump over because they don't want to get needled. Sometimes they'll shield because they don't want to get needled. Maybe sometimes they will just run at you. See, if someone always does this, as I'm charging needles, they always run up shield. What do I start doing? I cancel the needles early and I grab them. Simple. I'm using just the start of my neutral B to start a sequence. Let's say they have no fear. They just run at me. I'll throw the needles early. Let's say they jump at me. I'll cancel the needles and I'll jump. You get the point, right? You think of these moves as sequences. Stop thinking of moves as individual moves. Think of them as the start of a sequence. It doesn't have to be a combo. It doesn't have to be even something like this where you're forcing. Here's another example. No, not the shitty program. I hope this is big. I was actually watching someone's VOD a while back. So they told me they had trouble against Link. And I don't remember the exact sequence, but what the Link player kind of did. It's his hat. Oh, that hat's gone, right? Is that he would throw a boomerang up like this. And then when the boomerang was returning, he would pull a bomb. And then he would throw the bomb. And it felt, the guy was telling me how it felt like Link just covers all of this space. It's so hard to deal with it. And yeah, you can maybe just go super high above, but then you have to land on his up tilt and all that. So what do? Well, we went back and we watched it a few times and we saw that the Link always does that. He always threw the boomerang. Every single time the boomerang was angled up, he would move back a bit and pull a bomb as the boomerang came back because it kind of covered him. So I said, stop thinking of the boomerang as just a boomerang. What was that? Stop thinking of the boomerang as just a boomerang and think of it as he's telling you he's about to pull a bomb. So as soon as the boomerang kind of leaves your height level, you run him down because this entire time he wants to pull a bomb, which isn't safe. You have to think of it as a sequence. A lot of zoners will do the same sequence over and over because it works against a lot of people online. You know, Samus will do the side B, which kind of slowly covers, and then they'll jump neutral B. So they'll cover both these angles. Just run up, shield the side B. Big deal. They jump, they neutral B, they wasted their charge. You get them on the way down. None of that was visible anymore. But I hope you get what I'm saying. You need to start thinking of your own moves as sequences, even the very basic moves. You hit an F tilt with Rosalina. You don't get a true combo, sure. But I guarantee you, if you watch your replays, a lot of people react to getting hit by that up tilt the same. Maybe they always jump early. Maybe they always wait till they hit the ground and tech. You should already know how to continue your pressure off that one measly hit that doesn't give a combo. Because good players, you'll notice they'll pressure you harder. They don't let you get away with your own like bad habits because you don't realize, because they're not thinking of them as individual moves. You're kind of telling them what your next move is going to be because they think of your gameplay as a sequence. Hope you got what I'm saying with that. And yeah, if you didn't ask any, go ahead and ask any questions in the comments. I'll try to explain it better. Watch Verminubis' video on the same subject. I'm sure if you search his name and sequences, it'll show up. Highly recommend it. And if you liked the video, press that like button. And I would appreciate a subscribe. Thanks for everything and stay beautiful, folks.